Hi, I'm Bernard Sheridan, and welcome back to our Swinguru series of understanding the Swinguru dashboard and understanding how data works in Swinguru. So what we're going to look at today is essentially the markers and how we can draw on the 3D model and also on the 2D video. So if we take a look at the screen here, on the top left I have a face-on of the 3D model, and then on the bottom I have a down-the-line view from behind the player. And then of course we have our balance chart down here in the right corner, and then up in the top we have the 2D model. Now depending upon what we want to do, if you like, you can actually make any of these windows what you want. So while we're here, we're going to look at that. So if you want to change a window, then all you need to do is click on it, and then what you're going to see is that window is going to be highlighted, okay? Once that window is highlighted, you'll go over to the right on the dashboard and choose what you would like to have in that window. Now, if I want a face-on of 3D model, I'll press this, and then I can have the player facing me down the line, or the rear view of down the line of the player in the 3D model, or the overhead. I'll click on the camera icon, and that will take me back to the 2D video. I'll click on what looks like two feet, and those feet will take me to switch my balance and my center of gravity into that. If I go to this little icon here, this is actually a Foresight Sports launch monitor that can be integrated with Swinguru, and all that information will come up in here, and we'll do a video on that later on. And then if we go back to this table, we'll see the data table. So this gives us an idea of the different things that we can put in, and we can make it in any of those windows. And then if we go up to the top, we can decide whether we want to use a single window, 2 windows, 3 windows, or 4 as we were starting at. Okay, so essentially what we're going to do now is dive into the dashboard and look at some of these drawing tools, which are up top, and they're marked as tools, and then below there are markers. Now the markers will actually give you or draw lines for you on the player, and you can make a decision as to what you want those lines to be. So if we go down to selection here with the little finger, we will click on selection, and then a window will pop up, and it'll show us a front view. It'll show the player from the right, the player from the left, and top. So what we can do is, and I usually like to choose front, we have several lines here that is going to show what that is. Now, if you just put your mouse over there, that information will pop up on the right-hand side of the screen, as you can see. If I move that, it'll disappear, but if I place it back there, so what that's showing is a face-on head line. So if I click on that, a line will appear over top of the player's head. This will give me an idea as to up and down motion of the player. And I can also see that information in the data table as to how many inches the player has rose up from where they began or moved down from where they began, and then reference from there to different points, which we'll get in deeper when we get more into just the data table. But today what we're really covering is the markers, okay, and the drawing tools. So I can place a line on the back of the player's head or the front of the player's head. I can also place a line from the player's head down to the outside of the player's foot, front foot, and then I can just do vertical lines to see if the player is staying centered. Now, another nice thing that is on this front view, And if you want to get rid of those lines, you don't want to use them, all you need to do is just click them again, and they will turn off. So now we have also some hip lines that are just, if you don't want to go with the whole length of the player, full view, okay, vertical line from head to toe, you can just put in your hip position. And then you have little circles here that show shoulders positions, okay, and knee positions, and whether the player has come off of those positions or not. So let's say you need a player to remain on those positions and turn within those positions to the top, or keep their knees flexed and stay on that position. Let's say a player has a lot of lateral movement in their knees, a lot of motion with their legs. This will give you an idea as to whether they're coming off of that. Of course, we'll see that information in the data table also. So if we look at front, now when we go to actually go back and say OK and go back, we'll see now that these markers have come up on the player. If I click on that and go to a single view, and let's go to that single view and then to the player, we're going to see those marks so that as I play this video, I can see whether the player is staying on those marks or moving past them and out of them, okay, and where they're doing that. So that can be some valuable information as to whether I need a player to stay steady or to move forward, to have weight shifts. So there's so many different ways that we can read this information, and this is just another way that we can read this information. If we go back to the markers and go on the down the line, if I don't mark them and I go back to my down the line view, I'm not going to see any markers. So let's just say click out of that and let's go to our down the line view, and now we're not seeing any of these markers, okay? These markers have now disappeared and they're not on the down the line view because I only marked them on the face on view. So if I want them on every view, then I have to go back into the marker section, go to the right side, and click what I want. Do I want to show the player's spine? Do I want to show where the player's head is? Do I want to show their knee or their shoulder? Same thing with the left. I'm going to have those same parameters. Top of their head, their left shoulder, left spine view, and left knee. If I look at the top, here's what I'm going to have from the top. I'm going to have the top view of the right and left side of the player's head. I'm going to have the shoulders, and I'm going to have a spine view. So now if I click OK, now those items will appear. And then as I play the player through, I'll be able to see, is that player maintaining their spine angle as a visual, okay? I can also see that information in the data table, but this is an absolute pure visual that I can see immediately, which makes it very easy. So depending upon whether you like to work with numbers and really see exact angles, or if you want to work through line of sight, this is a great way to work with line of sight. We can see that as the player got to the top, they've pretty much maintained their spine angle fairly well. And they've also, where their head is, the top of their head has helped that too. So we're seeing that if they didn't maintain that spine angle, that head would either be above that line or below it. And then, of course, their spine, we wouldn't see it there. So as we move through, we're seeing that they're kind of maintaining that slight loss of that spine angle there. So now as we look at these different positions, we can see this same information coming up. If we don't want to see that information, and here's the top view, and we're seeing how the player's head is between those lines and then how the player's head moves forward on the downswing, okay? We might have wanted that player to keep their head in between those lines until they got to the release point of the swing. So this is how we use the markers in Swinguru. So if we take a look and go back to these markers and we want to reset everything, all we need to do is go down to the reset button and click it, and that will clear everything that we have here in all of these positions. So now if we click OK and go back, we'll see that all that information has disappeared. Now I can also go into the actual tools that are drawing tools and draw lines, circles, squares. I can produce angles and things of that nature, and then I can erase them. So we're going to save that for our next video as to hand drawing tools in the Swinguru dashboard and how you can draw them on the player to use as reference points. So until we meet again next time, I'm Bernard Sheridan from Par Breakers Golf Academy, also the host of a weekly podcast on iTunes that's on golf instruction called Breaking Par. So if you have ever the opportunity to get up to iTunes and listen to that, we would greatly appreciate it. We know that you would learn a ton of information from that show. We have different guests from the golf world of instruction and also information on training devices and all different kinds of things that can help you take control of your game. So until we meet again next time, try to keep it in the short grass. And if you have any questions about Swinguru or any of these videos, you can either post a comment below the video on YouTube, or you can email me directly at parbreakers@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time.